Champions League football leaves us on red for 2 months, and then boom, it's back. And with it comes my preview for the round of 16, as well as some predictions because you guys forced me into it. But seriously, you guys have a lot of fun with those predictions, so I'll throw them in at the end of each preview for you. And before we get into it, if you enjoy the content, then help us out by subscribing and joining our community. If you really want to join, hit that join button, become a member of the channel, and take advantage of some of the perks. I'll be adding some more soon, but it's by no means a requirement. Over 90% of the content will remain free. But for those who want to support the channel, I don't want to be that creator that just turns on the membership option and collects your money and you get no real benefit besides a little shield or whatever next to your name. You know? I gotta make sure that you actually get something out of it. So, let's go into the content. Chelsea vs Atletico is one of the many great matchups in this round of 16, as these two teams have met each other on a few occasions now, dating back to 2009, and they actually have a completely even record. Each side has won twice, and they've been locked in a stalemate 3 times. Their most recent meeting was in the Champions League group stage back in the 2017-18 season, where Chelsea beat Atleti once and drew with them in the other match, meaning Atleti was sent down to the Europa League, which they won, so shout out Chelsea for giving them that opportunity. As far as their group stage exploits this season, before getting the sack, Lampard managed to take Chelsea to the top of Group E ahead of Europa League winner Sevilla without losing a single match and conceding just twice. The good old days for Lampard, who of course was recently replaced by former PSG boss Thomas Tuchel, the guy who took the Parisians to their first ever Champions League final last season. It's still early days with Tuchel as the head coach of Chelsea, but his changes in shape and even the changes in personnel have seemingly revitalized the squad a bit. Of course, there's always a chance it could be the new manager bounce, but a less pessimistic view would give Tuchel the credit he's earned, really. Changing to a back 3 and bringing back the completely iced out Marcos Alonso could be a massive boon to Chelsea's season, as the Spaniard featured in his first match in over 3 months against Burnley and looked sharp, scoring a well-taken goal as well. He continued to do well against Tottenham. I think Chelsea's midfield is okay and their attack needs to find their rhythm still. Atletico Madrid, on the other hand, are having a fantastic season in La Liga, and those who say, well, they're only doing well because Real Madrid and Barcelona suck this year, are being a bit lazy with their analysis and aren't really giving them the credit they perhaps deserve. Their defense is as solid as ever, as expected of a Simeone side, while their attack finally has the potency they have been dying for in the last few years, with wide players such as Trippier, who will only be available for the second leg of this matchup due to him being suspended, and Yannick Carrasco helping drive their attack from the wide areas. And then there's workhorses like Marcos Llorente and Thomas Lemar, who has found his place in Simeone's heart as a central midfielder. Things are looking up. Add in João Felix and the rotation of Angel Correa, and opportunities will be made. That certain striker, perhaps the most important signing for Atleti, arguably the most important in the last few seasons for them, Luis Suarez. Finally, a clinical striker that can finish off the chances that the rest of Atleti creates. Someone to be the spearhead of Simeone's more attacking 3-4-2-1 formation, and he's been an absolute hit. 14 goals in 16 La Liga appearances has helped Atletico to one of their best starts in La Liga with 50 points from 19 matches, a 10-point lead over the chasing pack, and a match in hand. The draws that were constantly hamstringing them the last few seasons, as they failed to get results over the line, are seemingly, thus far at least, no longer an issue, with their change in shape and the addition of Suarez. And the prediction, of course, almost forgot about it. I personally have Atletico making it through on this one, as they're an improved side on the one that went out against RB Leipzig last year, vastly improved. And Diego Simeone has proven time and time again that so long as Ronaldo isn't playing, his side makes it through in a 2-legged tie. That Leipzig loss was, of course, a single match elimination. Barcelona versus PSG. It just had to be, right? With all of the rumors of Barcelona trying to bring in Neymar, with Messi confirming they wanted to bring him back, and now Neymar apparently signing a 4-year extension with the Paris club, the drama is rife. Factor in former Espanyol player and manager Mauricio Pochettino at the helm of PSG, while Barcelona are starting to find some form in La Liga, and this could be a great matchup, a very tough matchup to call. If you had asked me 2 months ago who I thought would go through, it would have been PSG all the way. But with Messi playing like he has a chip on his shoulder and Griezmann thriving comparatively under Koeman, it makes it much more difficult to say now. Barcelona eased through their group stage alongside Juve, the only team that really challenged them and matched their 15 points, but ultimately finished in second place. A solid campaign thus far in the Champions League for them, and while their domestic form was terrible to start, they seem to be finding their feet now. At the time of making this video, they sit in second in La Liga. Impressive considering they're in 13th after 10 matches. And despite all of the down-talking on Barcelona, they've caught up to Real Madrid now. Hell, surpassing them even as they have won 5 matches consecutively and are unbeaten in 10. That's better from Barcelona. Koeman's clearly found his preferred formation, and attacking 4-3-3 makes sense given the talent they have. However, he has shown that he can be a bit flexible, in a 4-2-3-1 with 2 deeper lying midfielders as well. De Jong and Pjanic beside each other, or when he wants to go with one, he'll go with Busquets sometimes. He has options. At PSG, things have gone fairly smoothly for Pochettino so far, bar that horrible display against Lorient, where they just never got going and blew their 2-1 lead to lose 3-2 to a relegation-threatened side. They made up for that a few days later with a much better 3-0 win, but it goes to show that despite a new manager, they haven't completely eradicated all of their issues. Their backline, partially suffering from injuries, has necessitated further cover in recent matches, and Pochettino has responded by playing a 4-4-2 double 6 in midfield in their last 2 matches. That will definitely be an area of worry for PSG, who will be praying Marquinhos makes his return prior to the first leg against Barcelona, as well as Keylor Navas. Juan Bernat would be a great boon. What a role he played last season in their Champions League run. They're expected to make their return alongside Marco Verratti in time for the Barca matches. They'll all be crossing their fingers there. Going forward, when they're clicking, PSG's attack can be absolutely explosive. I don't need to tell you. Neymar, Mbappe, Moise Kean has shown that he has some talent, while Icardi had a promising start to his time under Pochettino as well. When PSG and Barca meet, it's usually a great match filled with goals, the last of which being that epic remontada from 2017. In fact, there's 2+ goals in every match they have faced each other in. Here comes the hype to crush this match. So I think that this could be a close one, as I fear for the defenses of both sides, despite Barcelona actually looking a bit better defensively lately. And it feels like it will be decided by an individual performance, an individual bit of magic in this. It's as close to a coin flip as I could get on this one, but something about this Barcelona side and the signs of improvement lately has me leaning toward them, let alone how Messi is playing out of his mind. The character they showed against Granada to come back from 2-0 down to win 5-3 in extra time is just so impressive. And they'll need that character to beat PSG. That, and you throw in how Pochettino is much earlier in his cycle with PSG than Koeman is with Barcelona. This Barcelona team looks like they're playing for Koeman. It's strange looking at this tie, isn't it? As things stand, at the time of recording this video on February 4th, Liverpool have not been permitted to enter Germany for this match. Why? Because the German government have flight bans on all countries that have been affected by the mutation of the coronavirus. England being one of them, the highly contagious mutation. So it's on Leipzig to find an alternative, likely to be a neutral venue. We'll see what happens there. If not, they'll have to forfeit 3-0. But anyways, football-wise, you couldn't pick a better time to play against Liverpool, seeing as they are a mess when it comes to injuries, and their attack is very inconsistent. All 3 of their senior centre-backs have been ruled out for basically the entire season. Gomez, Matip for sure, Van Dijk with an outside chance of returning sometime before May, plus Diogo Jota, who was in such incredible form prior to his injury, is out for an indefinite amount of time. Naby Keita, someone who can help sort out their creative issues in the attack at times, he can't be trusted to stay healthy, and he's injured once again. Tough times. Plus, the added ripple effect of how the injuries in defense have brought their good midfielders into the back line, and it's just, it's a headache for Jurgen Klopp. And so, like I said, it's a good time to play against Liverpool, and while the Liverpool attack came back for a couple of matches against West Ham and Tottenham, it was poor again against Brighton recently. It's an inconsistent Liverpool at the moment, an injury-ravaged defense, but an attack that can be fantastic when it's firing, but at times out of ideas, just lacking sharpness and energy. Their group stage results were solid, finishing top of their group as you would expect of them, really, but the 2-0 loss at home to Atalanta was perhaps a bit of a surprise, simply because they're playing at Anfield. And now RB Leipzig, they had a dip domestically as well, and it's difficult to say whether they've moved past that dip yet. That 3-2 loss to the relegation-bound Mainz was not a good look, but hey, Liverpool has struggled against teams from the bottom half of the table as well lately, so perhaps this is the perfect time for both of these teams to play each other. Leipzig clawed their way out of their own Champions League grave at the expense of Manchester United, their late surge in the group pushing them through in second ahead of the English side. This perhaps being the ultimate payback for the 5-0 baptizing United gave Leipzig at Old Trafford, exploiting that high line they like to play with time and time again. Speaking of which, they'll have to be wary of their high line against Liverpool, as Salah certainly has the legs to do some damage, and Shaqiri has shown that he doesn't mind spraying a ball forward towards them. I wouldn't be surprised if Nagelsmann employed the 3-4-2-1 against Liverpool, as he did in big wins against both PSG and United, with the same formation being favored by Graham Potter, who recently defeated Liverpool. I find it a bit difficult to trust Liverpool these days. Losses against Burnley, Brighton, and Southampton have amplified that. The one thing making it difficult to call, though, is just how much time there is between the two legs. The first is on February 16th, the second on March 10th. An entire month later, basically. That's definitely enough time to sink further into a slump or come rocketing out of it for either team. Nagelsmann will surely relish the challenge of taking on Klopp's side, and he's shown that his prep work is good in the Champions League. By the way, Dominik Szoboszlai returning for Leipzig could make a big difference for them. That could be the creativity that they need going forward. Speaking of which, I could see Jota being the difference maker for Liverpool, but with no return date confirmed for him yet. Klopp answered a couple weeks, 2, 3, 4, I'm not sure, when asked about his injury. I mean, I almost feel like this comparatively, keyword being comparatively, disastrous season for Liverpool could continue and Leipzig will just slip through. The 2 consecutive home losses for Liverpool, the squad looking wiped out both physically and mentally. A full-strength Liverpool walks this, but they aren't that, and they haven't been for a while. FC Porto are taking on Andrea Pirlo's Juventus, Pirlo being a manager that is currently figuring out the job on the go here. And for my money, he's not doing too badly, all things considered. But first, Porto, who fought admirably in their 2 matches against the group winners Man City, maybe fought a little too hard, and literally, if you ask City fans. But Porto have shown time and time again that they will not give you an easy match, both in Europe and domestically. And I think that Sergio Conceição is to thank for that. As a Benfica supporter, of course I don't like the guy, but I wish that Benfica showed the same sort of desire that Conceição's players do consistently, thanks to his own fiery, let's be honest, fiery and hot-headed personality. That bleeds into his players. Porto currently sit in second in Portugal, unbeaten in 11 matches, and have been massively bolstered of late thanks to Iranian striker Mehdi Taremi. He's been involved in 9 goals in his last 8 matches. As far as the system goes, Conceição switched to the 4-4-2-6 back at the beginning of December, and they're yet to lose a match while utilizing it. He changed to a 3-4-3 against Sporting in the League Cup and ended up losing, so we'll see if he goes back to that anytime soon. Defensively, Pepe and Mbemba have struck up a good partnership, while their midfield 2 of Uribe and Sergio Oliveira are tidy as well. By the way, today was the day that Nanu got that horrible injury. We wish him well, man. You hate to see that. It was really, really scary scenes watching that happen, and I just hope he's okay. Now, as for Juve, like I said, I think Andrea Pirlo is still figuring out just how he wants them to play and which formation gets the best out of his squad. The good news, he's not afraid to switch it up. He's not just throwing out the same 11, the same shape every time. He's not constantly playing players that are in poor form. He started his managerial career with a back 3, as he said he wanted to in his coaching license thesis, but he too has switched to the 4-4-2. 4-4-2 making a huge comeback these last couple of years, hey? Ronaldo is still scoring, and to threaten the attack, Weston McKennie has established himself as one of Juve's most important players. Arturo is starting to figure out his place in the midfield, which is not the deep-lying playmaker, but in a slightly more advanced role, just a little bit further. And the defense between Demiral and De Ligt is looking much, much better. Not to mention how important Cuadrado is to the Juve attack, playing in that right-back position, constantly picking up assists. Very important piece to that puzzle. I don't think this tie is going to be easy for Juve, not in the slightest, as Porto have shown they fear nobody. But I do think Juve will come out on the other side as the victor over the 2 legs. Ronaldo versus Pepe will be kind of fun to watch, and I expect Ronaldo to get the better of his national teammate. Sevilla had a very strange group stage as they finished just behind Chelsea on points, having lost 4-0 to the Blues, but domestically, they're getting better and better all the time. Yusuf En-Nesyri is a great physical striker. He's not all technique. He's a physical behemoth more that can run the defense into the ground, and he has found his scoring touch at Sevilla. Last season, he showed promise, but fell off massively toward the end of the season. But this season, he is absolutely flying. Judging by his XG, you could argue that he is overperforming a bit and is due to cool down. Pessimistic view, that one. Or you could look at it optimistically and say that he has just been absolutely clinical. He scored 12 goals from an XG of just 6.9. Speaking of Sevilla's attack, which has helped them to 3 consecutive victories in La Liga and 6 consecutive victories across all competitions, Lopetegui has another weapon up his sleeve now with the signing of Papu Gomez. A massive signing in my opinion as a close observer of Atalanta. Papu Gomez is incredible to watch and his presence adds even more legitimacy to Sevilla going forward. Despite perhaps not showing their best face in the group stage, this is a side that is getting better and better as the season goes on, and their Europa League victory last season, yet another one, shows that they are not to be taken lightly in the knockout rounds of European competitions, as if anyone was going to do so at this point, right? How could you? Now, Borussia Dortmund, on the other hand, are having maybe not a nightmare season, but a forgettable season, at least. After the sacking of Lucien Favre, results haven't exactly turned around for Dortmund. Favre did see them to the top of the table in their group, ahead of Lazio, and a very, very difficult side in Club Brugge. But with Favre gone and Edin Terzic as the caretaker, Dortmund have slipped even further to 6th in the league now. A full 13 points off of first. And 3 things are guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and Borussia Dortmund conceding goals, especially from set pieces. This problem area would sometimes they would be able to sweep it under the rug a little bit thanks to their scoring ability, but that hasn't been a guarantee for them this season. Even with an android like Erling Haaland, they haven't been able to score enough goals to make up for their defensive deficiencies. I mean, to illustrate their struggles, they recently played in the Pokal against SC Paderborn, 9th in the 2nd division of German football, and required extra time to beat the recently relegated side. It's a cup competition, these things happen, but still. Things aren't clicking, and I fear like they may pay for it against Sevilla. Personally, I see Sevilla as a potential dark horse in this competition, and if Dortmund don't find some form soon, like in the next couple of weeks, then they'll be out. I have Sevilla going through to the quarters. Lazio was one of the teams that pushed Dortmund all the way, in fact. Lazio beat Dortmund in one of their group stage matches against each other, with the Laziali winning 3-1 in the opening match of the group. They didn't end up losing a single match after that, but they only won one more time. 2 wins and 4 draws saw them finish just ahead of Club Brugge, but it wasn't comfortable as those 2 teams met each other on the final match day, and the Belgians were an inch or 2 of the crossbar away from jumping over Lazio into the round of 16. Domestically, after a slow start, Lazio are doing exceptionally well. They lost in the Coppa Italia against Atalanta, despite going 2-1 up, and later having an Atalanta player get sent off and losing 3-2. It could have been 4-2 actually, if not for Zapata hitting the crossbar. But in the league, forget about the Copa. In the league, they're perhaps the most informed side, going undefeated in 6 and winning 5 matches consecutively. Luis Alberto has put in some great performances recently, while Ciro Immobile will always be a threat. He's hit 13 in the Serie A and scored 5 from 4 appearances in the Champions League. With Joaquin Correa floating around as well, Caicedo providing a great alternative. Lazio is solid in the attack, but their defense doesn't have me 100% convinced. Especially when they're playing up against perhaps the most prolific, the most prolific scorer in the world at the moment, Robert Lewandowski, who has scored no less than 24 goals in just 18 appearances in the Bundesliga. Across all competitions, he's sitting at 27 goals and 7 assists from 25 matches. Damn. And the rest of Bayern are performing quite well also. I mean, besides a team that I'm going to mention later, it's hard to find a league where the top sides don't have some sort of form issues. There's nobody absolutely rollicking their league right now, running away with it. Bayern have a 7-point lead, yes, but they have shown weaknesses on a couple of occasions in the Bundesliga, but no one is there to challenge them when they do show those weaknesses. I guess Atletico is kind of running away with the league if they win that match in hand. In Europe, however, they are defending their crown fairly well, winning all of their matches save a 1-1 draw with Atletico. Lewandowski wasn't even in the squad for the last 2 matches, but they certainly have a strong squad, don't they? If Lewandowski isn't scoring, then Muller is, or Gnabry, who has returned. Coman is having a strong season. Sané delivers when he gets playing time. Flick has been a bit weird with that. And of course, perhaps the most important piece to this whole puzzle, in my opinion, Joshua Kimmich holding it down in midfield, spraying passes everywhere, and contributing defensively as well. The backline is a bit concerning, although that's what people said last season as well, with Boateng and the soon-to-be leaving David Alaba, as that seems to be Flick's favorite pairing of the moment, despite the likes of Hernandez being available. Roca as well. Their fullbacks are strong though. Davies took some time to find his form after his injury spell, but he's found it now, and Pavard is looking good. And they have perhaps the best keeper in the world, Emmanuel Neuer, so hey, is there really anything to worry about? I don't think so. I think that Lazio will fight valiantly, but I'm sorry, I can only see Bayern getting through this one. Real Madrid is in some poor form at the moment. They squeezed through what was an anxiety-inducing group for the Madrid faithful, finishing 2 points ahead of both Gladbach and Shakhtar. Zidane's reliance upon the good old boys, as I like to call them, those being, Cruz, Casemiro, Modric, Sergio Ramos, the contract rebel, Benzema, etc. It's a bit worrying for them. When Sergio Ramos isn't playing, their chances of winning are slashed. While if Marcelo starts, they're cut even more so, which is a very unfortunate but true record for him. Real have won just 2 of their last 7 matches, the most embarrassing of which a loss against 10-man 3rd division squad Alcoyano. In the Champions League group stage, they lost both matches against Shakhtar and were minutes away from losing their first match against Gladbach before Benzema and Casemiro saved the day. I don't love the form that Real Madrid are in right now, as they look very vulnerable. Their belly is showing, so to speak. That was not an Eden Hazard joke, don't take it that way. Atalanta, on the other hand, had their 14-match unbeaten run ended by Lazio last weekend, where they lost 3-1 at home. Prior to that, they had looked fantastic, even beating AC Milan 3-0. They didn't have the easiest group in the Champions League, as they finished second behind Liverpool, but ahead of Ajax. The crowning moment being, of course, their 2-0 win at Anfield, as they made it into the round of 16 for the second consecutive season, which it can't be overstated enough how big of an achievement that is for a tiny club from Bergamo. Losing Papu Gomez is absolutely a hit to their overall squad quality and depth, but they have shown throughout 2021 that they have a deeper squad than perhaps initially thought, and they continue to deliver on Gasperini's tactics time and time again. Just when it looked like it was over for them, they found it again. I actually really like Atalanta's chances here, as Real Madrid are having a poor season, or at least a poor moment right now. Eden Hazard is certainly the type of player that has the ability to turn an entire squad's form around with some match-winning performances, but with him getting injured once again for 4 to 6 weeks, it'll be touch and go as to whether we see him against Atalanta at all. Definitely not the first leg. Right now, Atalanta is the side trending in the right direction, and I think their attack will be a little too much for that fragile backline that Madrid are boasting. Atalanta are my pick to go through. Borussia Mönchengladbach have been hit or miss in the Bundesliga, but they had an extremely strong showing in their Champions League group stage, where they were minutes away from getting the full 3 points against both Real Madrid and Inter in their first 2 matches, then absolutely smashed Shakhtar in both of their meetings. In the end, they barely made it through, but they have shown that on their day, they can put in an incredible performance. In fact, it wasn't so long ago, just last month actually, that they came from behind to beat the current European champions Bayern Munich. Not bad. Marco Rosa has a clear game plan, and he and his squad can implement it to perfection on any given match, with a knack for showing up in the big games these days. It's funny though, when looking at their squad, perhaps the only position that I think is rock solid, that I don't question at all, is in goal with Jan Sommer, whereas the rest of the squad are susceptible to off days. Besides Jonas Hoffmann, that man is a god. Alisson Plea can be a tremendous talent on his day, as can Marcus Thuram. Breland Bolo is not quite consistent enough for my liking. And Lars Stindl, a great leader, and an underrated attacker, I think. But speaking of their attack, they're going up against probably the best defense in Europe at the moment, based on recent form at least. Man City have conceded just 13 goals in 21 matches as they sit atop the Premier League table. They haven't conceded a goal in 6 matches consecutively now. The last time they conceded in the league was January 3rd. They've won 13 matches in a row and have looked strong in doing so. That's across all competitions, by the way, without some of their best players like Aguero and the recently injured Kevin De Bruyne. With the signing of Ruben Dias, I mean, I knew he was good, but I didn't know that he was going to be this good for them. Suddenly, Man City are a defensive colossus. John Stones has partnered the Portuguese incredibly well, and recently, Aymeric Laporte, he filled in at left back and did well doing so. Not to mention João Cancelo on the other flank, improving all the time seemingly under Pep. In their current form, I don't know that I can think of a team that I would favor over City, with Phil Foden emerging as a top talent, with their incredible defense, and players like Gundogan suddenly performing at such a high level. Bernardo is looking like himself again. I can only see City coming out on the other side of this one. And that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it, then be sure to let me know by dropping a like or subscribing, or do both if you're feeling up to it. A big thank you for watching. I really do appreciate you taking the time. My name's Adrian, and take care of yourself. Ciao.